Hello and welcome to Film Franchise Fortnights on the CoGPod podcast. Very special episode today.
Because I'm here.
Right into it. AJ's here as always.
It's always a special episode when I'm on, right?
Yep, but even more special because do you know what we've got this week?
What?
Gender diversity.
Oh my gosh.
That's right. We've got a very special guest, Amanda Berthot, joining us all the way from, I want to say, Texas?
Yes, Austin, Texas.
Austin,
Hello.
Texas. Hello, how are you doing?
It's actually a little, for us, cool right now is 86. That's like cooler. And just to kind of give you an idea of how Texas it is in Austin, I just got home from a chili festival where you go up and down aisles of vendors that are all like having a chili making contest. And I was wearing like braided pigtails and the whole thing. It's ridiculous.
Wow,
that is very Texas of you.
You said it's 86 over there, which in New Zealand temperature would literally kill everyone. Probably. What is? Do you know what that is? And
86 would be like mid to high 20s.
Okay.
Yeah, and that's cool for us. Like over the summer, we hit 100 Fahrenheit almost the whole summer, so it's very hot.
136.
We could do a whole podcast on just the difference between Celsius and Fahrenheit.
Yeah.
Yeah, people probably wouldn't. It would take them a while to understand.
It's like minus 24 or 42 or something like that is the same in both.
Really?
Yeah.
How does that work?
I don't know. That's just where they line up.
Wow. The more you know.
Speaking of like educational things, a few weeks ago, you Amanda, you might remember, but some of the listeners out there might remember, I gave a pretty detailed description of New Zealand's political climate.
Yes.
We've, as of, it'll be a week ago now, but we finally have a new Prime Minister. It's been decided. So,
there was a decision made, was there, finally?
Mm-hmm.
Yeah. So Jacinda Ardern, Labour Party leader, has taken power. She was leader of the opposition. She's the youngest female Prime Minister we've had. She's the youngest in 160 years. So
there you go.
It's MMP at work.
And people are either very excited about it or very grumpy about it.
Yeah.
Let us know your thoughts on politics in the comments of this episode.
But not to get too political, we're doing a pretty silly franchise this week, I think it's fair to say. Dumb and Dumber.
It was rough, y'all.
Hey, I'd take 3 Dumb and Dumber movies over 14 Land Before Time movies. Any
You're right about that. You're right about that, for sure.
So, should we just crack straight into it? There's 3 films in this franchise. There's the classic original, and then a prequel and a distant sequel, which is kind of interesting that it commits like the 2 cardinal sins of sequelization.
Yeah, for sure.
It's interesting because, and we'll get into like the continuity issues, I'm sure, but on the outset, what you've got here is almost like a really kind of perfect example of a timeline of these 2 guys' lives, because you've got the original and then you see them as teenagers and then you see them as old men. And it's like, I can't think of another series that has that much coverage of a character's life.
Yeah, it's like a comedic before midnight trilogy. Well, it's like Boyhood.
Absolutely.
All right, so first off, as I mentioned, we had the original film, Dumb and Dumber. That came out in 1994. It was directed by the Farrelly brothers. It was their first film. And that stars Jim Carrey as Lloyd Christmas and Jeff Daniels as Harry Dunn. Does one of you guys want to briefly explain the plot?
Amanda, please.
Please
explain the plot.
Oh, I'm sure you're the first person to make that joke.
Oh my god! So I watched it when I was younger once, not all the way through, like when it first came out, because I couldn't quite make it through it. And then when I got married, my husband's like, "What? You've never really seen all of Dumb and Dumber? You have to. It's like a dude thing. You have to watch this." I'm like, all right, whatever. So we watch it. And again, I hated it. So basically, it's just the story of these 2 friends and their rambling attempts at real life. And they find a briefcase. They're taking it across the country in their dog van to the original owner in, where does she end up in? New Mexico?
Aspen,
Colorado.
Yeah.
Aspen, Colorado. And like the only thing I remembered from the movie the first time around was the Samsonite joke where he like couldn't get her name right and thought it was Samsonite because that's the name on the briefcase. That's all I remember about it from the
Which
first time.
isn't a very common briefcase brand in New Zealand. So,
Yeah, so I was going to ask you about that. Would you be able to explain that joke?
So, yeah, it's pretty common here. Actually, like we have these outlet malls, which are like big outdoor stores. And so every time we drive by them, there's one for Samsonite. And I say the joke out loud every time I see it, even though I hate the movie. I just can't wipe it clean from my brain. So yeah, it's pretty common here.
So that would be like if it was a box of tissues and he thought her last name was like Kleenex.
Right.
Is it that ubiquitous?
Basically. Yeah.
Right.
Yeah.
Pretty common.
Because here we were like, I guess that must just be the brand.
Yes.
So
I
we
can
still
see how that would be
got it.
confusing. Yeah.
Yeah. But it's a comedy of errors. It's peak Jim Carrey. This came out the same year as Ace Ventura and The Mask.
the same year.
Yeah.
Holy crap.
He was first person.
He was cranking them out, man, just like one after the other. Ridiculousness.
Wow.
Yeah, and like they were. It seems like they were made really fast as well because like Ace Ventura got made and came out and was a huge success, and then they started Dumb and Dumber and it still came out the same year.
Wow.
But like between getting signed onto the movie and negotiating pay, which is like 2 weeks, the Ace Ventura came out. So Jim Carrey went from like $500,000 to $7 million for this film because he overnight became the biggest comedy star in the world.
Right.
And as I said, it was the Farrelly Brothers' first film. And so, as we talked about on our Ace Ventura podcast,
Way back in the day.
our second episode, that it was directed by a first-time director as well. And when it was such a huge success, that's what sort of gave everyone the confidence. It's like, well, Jim Carrey and a first-time director is maybe a recipe for success. And I guess it was.
Yeah.
There you go.
And it's weird because I loved Ace Ventura, like love, deep in my heart. But this one, there's just something about it. Like it just didn't land for me. The comedy was almost too slapstick. And I know that's his thing, but it was like so bad, just so dumb. I couldn't. It was brutal. I hit pause and I was like, man, I need to take a cigarette break. I'm like, I should be almost done. And it had been 30 minutes. Oh, Jesus
That
Christ.
happens to us all the time.
Oh, it was
watching
brutal.
These movies.
That's really interesting that you love, because I would assume that most people, if you don't like Ace Ventura or Dumb and Dumber, you kind of don't like the other one as well. But I guess I can see where you're coming from. And like Ace Ventura is actually like a good detective story.
Yeah,
it's just really
Ace
silly.
Ventura is also a much more likable character than
He is.
Lloyd Christmas.
All right. We'll probably talk about it more later, but like
All right.
the Wikipedia page describes it's a film about two unintelligent but well-meaning friends.
Interesting.
And I'd agree with that for the first one, but as we get later on through the series, that kind of completely, they're still unintelligent, don't get me wrong, but that kind of all disappears a little bit. But we'll save that for now.
Okay.
So a prequel was made in 2003, 9 years later, called Dumb and Dumberer, When Harry Met Lloyd, and that was directed by Troy Miller.
Cool. So that one replaced the two stars with
Eric Christian Olsen as Lloyd. Eric Christian Olsen as Lloyd Christmas and Derek Richardson as Harry Dunn.
And they are insanely accurate young cast. Probably the best young casting I've ever seen.
They were really good with their casting. The guy that played Lloyd, he actually is one of the guys that is in Community. And whenever I realized who he was, I was like, oh, that's him? Because they did such a good job of his mannerisms and the way they made him look. Like, they really got it down.
Yeah, because he's like a handsome dude. And then apparently it was like they were worried about you're too handsome. And he's like,
He does probably the only good Jim Carrey impression that anyone's ever done, because Jim Carrey's like mannerisms are so like, it almost feels like no one else could do them, because only Jim Carrey can pull this off. But this guy does it, and he does it so well. And it's like, I would recommend, if you don't like these movies, watch the prequel just for that strange little like It's so good. It's such a good
Yeah.
performance. Both of them do very good performances, very good impersonations.
Yeah, well, I'm going to come
sure.
out and say they're good, but like not to the point where I couldn't really watch the movie because AJ kept on like screaming about how good it was. I would miss plot points. I'm using that in quotation marks because AJ's like, look at his tongue. That's amazing.
He does. He does that Jim Carrey thing where he hovers his tongue in between the bottom of his mouth and his teeth, and it slowly touches the top of his teeth as he's like threatening. It's so good. Anyway, Dumb and Dumberer, When Harry Met Lloyd, is about the meeting of the two Dumb and Dummers. When they're in high school, and they've got an evil principal played by Eugene Levy who wants to create a special needs class to get money from the government or from like whoever funds special needs classes, I guess. And and so he sees that Harry and Lloyd are dumb and dumberer, so he puts them in the special needs class despite the fact that they're not technically special needs, and they sort of get a cavalcade of...
They recruit.
Yeah, they recruit a cavalcade of other wacky high schoolers, including Shia LaBeouf, which was a surprise to see him.
That was surprising. It was surprising for sure. And then the guy that was on not Deadpool, what's his name? Oh man, I forgot the actor's name. But he's been
Bob
on
Saget.
a bunch of stuff, and I saw him and I'm like, oh my God, that's like a real actor and stuff.
The guy from Daredevil.
The guy from Daredevil.
Yeah, Foggy Nelson.
Daredevil, that's it. Yeah, Foggy.
Yeah.
I saw him and I was like, good Lord.
Yeah, he's like, because he's like kind of a dweeb in Daredevil, but then he's like the cool punk. Well, I say cool, but he's like the punk
and
with
then
like the
you
mohawk
see hot
and-
Rachel Nichols comes out, and she's been in G.I. Joe, and she was in Amityville Horror, and I'm like, oh, wow, okay, cool.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And then Bob Saget's in it as well.
Yeah, but Bob Saget's amazing in it. He's hilarious.
He was really good. Yeah.
So that's the prequel. I don't know what else to say about it.
It's about trying to uncover the corruption in the school.
Yeah.
And then 11 years after that, 20 years after the original, we had Dumb and Dumber 2, and 2 hilariously is spelt T-O. That was again directed by the Farrelly brothers, who are now like 60. And
still making poop jokes.
Still as racist and as sexist as you remember.
Yeah.
Cool. So that film was about. So for the past 20 years, this was so stupid. For the past 20 years,
It was real stupid. And this one, okay, so Dumb and Dumber 2 is the one where you're like, wait, they got a lot of the plot wrong in this one. Like, whenever you try to compare it to the other two, they missed so many things.
Basically Jim Carrey's Lloyd. Oh yeah, Jim Carrey and Jeff Daniels are back for this one, and Jim Carrey's Lloyd has been pretending to be like comatose in a mental asylum. It wasn't really, it was like a hospital, not really an asylum. For the past 20 years, he's pretending to do this, and every Wednesday, Harry will come and see him, and then on the 20-year anniversary of him doing this, he lets Harry know that he was actually kidding and he was just doing this to fool Harry, and so he's like, oh my gosh, that's so funny.
Well, because Harry told him he needed a kidney.
Yeah. So Harry needs a kidney because he says he's got his kidney's broken, and they find out that Harry has a daughter. And so, in sort of what could be seen as a clever mirroring of the first film, it was once again them going cross-country to try find another woman that Lloyd is in love with, because Lloyd's actually in love with Harry's daughter.
Yeah, this film blasts through like 5 initial premises in the first 30 minutes, because it's like, okay, Lloyd needs a kidney. Oh, he finds out he might have a daughter. Okay, they're going to have to go find Frida, who's the mother of the daughter. And then, okay, they've found her. Oh, but we don't know where the daughter is. Let's go on a big adventure across country to find the daughter. Oh, okay, she's actually in El Paso. Oh, okay, let's go find her there. And then it's like,
her adopted parents give them a package that's super important because her adopted father is like a world famous scientist. And what the problem here is, like, I'm not like a road movie generally or a quest movie generally is like cause and effect. You go to one thing that sends you to the next thing. But they have, by the half an hour point, they have 6 setups for why they're going across country, and they're all different. And it's like, you just need to give me one of them, and then everything else, you don't need to pile on things like this special package that you need to deliver in time. It's like he's already got a bad kidney. Like, that's enough to move us.
But then,
sure.
Massive spoilers for Dumb and Dumber 2. We find out that it's not actually Harry's daughter, it's Lloyd's daughter, and then we find out it's not actually either of their daughters.
It's not his either.
Yeah, because neither of them had sex with Frida.
And neither of them actually know how sex works, which was a little bit too dumb for me. I was like, they're not that dumb. They know how sex works. There
are some like not dumb moments in the film.
Yeah,
like that, like where they're just like randomly because the daughter says something about a leprechaun living in India, and Jim Carrey corrects her and says,
Ireland.
Ireland, because I think she doesn't mean to say leprechaun or something like that. And then also, like, it's been 20 years and he hasn't had any kind of contact with anyone.
Yeah.
And then he knows how to use a cell phone.
That's true.
He just works it out.
Well, and then in that one too is the main thing that really threw me off was whenever they were like, "What, Harry, you're adopted," but we saw his mom, like his real mom, in the prequel. Yeah. So how does that work?
We had a discussion about this because it's like, because AJ was like infuriated that they would ignore the prequel, but I was like, if you made a film and then someone did a sequel or like, you know, took it and was like, this is mine now, and then you took it back, you don't have to like acknowledge anything they did.
Yeah, but
I mean, like, obviously not everyone kind of understands like canon.
Yeah,
but like I wouldn't acknowledge it. If you like, I mean, it doesn't really work for Dumb and Dumber, but like if you had like an amazing story you needed to tell, and someone else had ruined like part of it, I'd fuck them. Who cares?
I agree, but Dumb and Dumberer was better than Dumb and Dumber 2. So if we're going to erase one from the canon, I want to erase Dumb and Dumber 2.
Yeah,
totally.
It's weird. It's almost like they intentionally go out of their way to contradict the stuff we saw in the prequel, because you could easily just have not acknowledged anything it set up, and if you can believe that Dumb and Dumberer happened if you wanted to have.
Yeah, right.
But they go to Harry's adopted parents, and in Dumb and Dumber.
No, it's Harry's. Yeah,
and in Dumb and Dumberer, we see Harry's mum, and then there's a big plot involving Frida, who's she's mentioned in the first film as being like the sort of the girl they both liked at one point. And at the end of Dumb and Dumberer, they meet Frida and her twin sister in a car, and it's like, I don't know, it can't explicitly not be her, but it's very, it basically couldn't be, because then in the third film,
they explain how they met Frida.
Yeah, that's true.
Yeah, which is different than how they actually met her.
Exactly.
So yeah, they just changed it.
It's so egregious. It's like it would be different if it felt like they just never saw Dumb and Dumberer, but it feels like they saw it and were like, right, let's specifically dismantle everything this set up.
All right, you've just set me up for a fun fact.
Oh,
they didn't see Dumb and Dumberer.
Oh,
yeah. Peter Farrelly said he never watched it, but he has no ill will about it and wished the filmmakers well. Yeah. So thanks for setting that up. And also, this talk of Frida, pop quiz, can one of you tell me Frida's last name?
Felcher.
All right, and now, AJ, since you're such a big fan of turning this into fetish cast, can you please explain to Amanda, myself, and the rest of the listeners what felching is?
Do you know what felching is, Amanda?
I've heard it before, but I forgot.
But I don't think I've done it.
To my middle school knowledge, felching is when you consume the seed out of someone's butt.
Yeah,
that sounds right.
Yeah. Like after the seed's been put in there by someone else.
Yeah. Okay.
Yeah. And I always thought it was through a straw. but that might be optional.
But when you did it, it was through a straw. But
Yeah, straw's
you've since
optional.
learned.
The silly straw.
Well, thank you for that.
Well, I don't know. You're so
No, you're right. I deserve it. Welcome back to Fetish Cast.
yeah. And so what I was saying before about how the Wikipedia describes the first one as being about two unintelligent but well-meaning friends, they're not well-meaning in this one.
In the
they're
third one?
so mean.
Yeah.
Like they go out of their way to like just be mean-spirited.
The
whole
movie's
time.
mean-spirited as well.
Yeah, it's like
Yeah.
there's all these jokes like when they yell out "show us your tits" to like a scientist.
Yeah.
And it's like they're not like that.
And also, like, there's a part where someone mentions a female doctor, and they're like, "Yeah, a female doctor."
Doctor doing the laundry.
And it's so like okay,
It was-
when you're making jokes about sensitive issues, the key is that you're making fun of the people
that believe that.
who believe that, right? That's how you acknowledge these things. It's like, look how backwards these people are because they think that you can't be a woman doctor. But these are our heroes. Like,
Yeah,
these are
they're made out to be like intelligent characters.
Obviously they're dumb, but you're still supposed to invest in them. And it's
Yeah.
very hard to invest in characters who don't think females can be doctors. Or earlier in the film, Harry's adopted parents are Korean, I think, and they start speaking in their language, and then Lloyd just starts laughing, and he's like, "What the hell is that?" Like he's never heard their
even though he
language
spoke,
before.
that girl spoke Chinese and Dumb and Dumberer.
True. So yeah, that's a big problem, I think, with the third.
Yeah,
It was
and the
very
fact-
weird. It felt weird. The third
The fact-
one felt weird.
It's written by like a 59 and a 60-year-old as well. Like they're both males. It's like, yeah, nah.
And it's strange because I would have thought, like, Jim Carrey has some pretty crazy beliefs.
Yeah,
but I
like
would have,
Emma Stone should fuck him.
but I would have thought that he would have been socially conscious enough, just in his tweet life.
Remember, he pulled out of Kick-Ass 2. Well, he pulled out of doing promo for Kick-Ass 2 because of the Sandy Hook shooting.
Yeah.
So he does have a conscience.
Yeah, exactly. So it's strange to see him being so, I don't know, like backwards about it. And Jeff Daniels, I love Jeff Daniels. He's great. And again, it's a shame to see him, I don't know, support that kind of joke.
Yeah.
It is. Yeah. It's a really strangely mean-spirited film, and that like just completely misses the point. And there's a very let's talk about not being socially conscious. There's a line in the Dumb and Dumberer where they talk about something like making you a fag.
Yeah, they use the word fag in a derogatory. I think they use it twice.
Yeah,
in the
like
film.
Yeah, it was a
and-
couple times for sure. Yeah.
And it's like, yep, that's 2003 for you. you could say that in 2003.
Yeah.
Um,
Not anymore. Like, oh my god! Imagine if they said that in Dumb and Dumber 2.
Yeah, exactly.
The film would never get released.
It shouldn't have anyway.
Yeah.
It was so bad. It was so bad.
Yeah, it was
Ugh.
critically panned, which is a nice segue into that like Rotten Tomatoes score. So, Amanda, you would say that the prequel was your favorite,
By far. Like,
Yeah.
it was the only one that was really watchable for me.
right? So you'd go prequel, original, sequel
Yeah, for sure.
in chronological order.
Yeah. I would go the original, prequel, sequel. I think I laughed way more at the prequel. Like, the prequel made me laugh more, but it's
I think
not-
because your expectations were lower as well.
It's not a very good story. It's not as good of a story as the original. It's just
That's
funnier.
true.
Yeah. Yeah. The original's like a good comedy of errors.
It's a road movie. It's awesome.
Yeah, so I agree with you, Joe, by the way. Interestingly, Rotten Tomatoes doesn't agree with any of us. It goes, Dumb and Dumber has 67% critic score. This prequel has 10%, and the sequel has 29%.
Wow.
All of those are pretty low scores. You know?
Yeah. 67% for like a Jim Carrey comedy isn't too bad.
I know, but for it to be such a classic and like people hold it pretty dear to their hearts.
But
I mean, that always
is
happens,
divisive
yeah.
as
Yeah,
well. Like,
that's true.
there are people out there that like
Some
present company that
people
hate
like it a lot.
Wow.
There was a sick Dumb and Dumber reference for those of you playing at home.
Yeah. Everyone get your bingo cards out. So little he wants to hear some production stories.
I would love nothing more than to hear production stories. But before you do, I've just got a request for Amanda. By the end of this podcast, I want you to, from what you've gleaned from our personalities, I want you to assign Harry or Lloyd to either me or Richard. Like, which one's Harry, which one's Lloyd. They don't specify in the film which is dumb and which is dumber.
Yeah.
So
Oh no.
we don't. I don't know. But Harry or Lloyd, I want to know what you and maybe what the listeners maybe think.
Yeah,
Okay.
that's interesting because watching the film, I definitely had a feeling as to who was who. But all right, interesting story, but behind the scenes. So as I mentioned before, Jim Carrey got paid $7 million for this film. Jeff Daniels was only paid $50,000,
Oh my god.
which is a lot of money to me. But that's not very much. And so the story behind that is the studio wanted someone like Steve Martin or Martin Short, someone with Martin in their name, and proven comedic chops.
Yeah.
But Jim Carrey and the Farrelly brothers insisted on having like a serious actor to bounce off of.
That's great. That's a great idea.
But the studio was so reluctant that they offered Jeff Daniels a like insultingly low salary, which he accepted, much to their chagrin. And then when he accepted, they for over a week they didn't shoot any scenes of the two of them together, so that they could just reshoot Jeff Daniels if they needed to. And
my God.
once that didn't work, they kept a comedic actor on set just in case they wanted to swap out Jeff Daniels.
Who was the actor?
That doesn't say.
Oh, what an interesting tidbit that would have been. Well, it still is. But, like, to find out who that actor was. That's real interesting because I really like Jeff Daniels. And I think it's definitely an interesting movie to watch if you're a fan of Jeff Daniels, because in regards to Jim Carrey, it's sort of just Jim Carrey being peak Jim Carrey, whereas this is actually a very different performance for Jeff Daniels than...
But he nails it.
Yeah, he nails it, absolutely. Yeah.
And he's like the heart of the film. And like in the second one as well, he's definitely, there's a lot more heart in his kind of character. Not as much kidney. Although, spoiler alert, the kidney thing was fake.
Yeah, it was Harry trying to trick Lloyd, but then Lloyd does lose a kidney, so therefore Lloyd has less kidney and also less heart, because they're both assholes.
Yeah.
Yeah. Yeah.
Well, speaking of what could have been, the original choices, I don't know how much I actually believe this, but Gary Oldman and Nicolas Cage was the original Dumb and Dumber. No?
You never know what you're going to get with Nicolas Cage, so that could have gone really bad or really, really good. So
I feel
there's like no in between.
Would Nicolas Cage have played Harry? Because I could see him doing what he did in Adaptation to play Harry.
Right. Well, I've written down here, AJ, do a Lloyd line as Nicolas Cage.
Okay, what's a Lloyd line? I really hate goodbyes. That was my Nicolas Cage impression.
And a good one too.
Thank you. But it was a real stupid line. Like, everyone says that.
Yeah.
There wasn't a very Lloydy line.
I thought you would have gone with I like it a lot, but
Okay, let me try. I like it a lot. But he would do it in a British... Okay, so a British... if Nicolas Cage was British, saying I like it... Well, doing a British impression, it'd be like, I like it a lot.
What about Gary Oldman? What would Gary Oldman say in this film, AJ?
Gary Oldman would say...
He's Harry, right? So he has to be Harry.
Yeah.
What would he say?
What's a Harry line? I can't remember it. Harry doesn't have the lines.
God. Not really.
I'm
drawing a blank.
How do I even do a Gary Oldman impression?
Yeah, he's such a chameleon.
You change subject. I'm gonna Google IMDb quotes for Dumb and Dumber, and then I'll come back.
Okay. Another like what could have been, not fan casting, original casting. Mary Samsonite's husband was originally going to be played by Mel Gibson, playing
That's
Mel
random.
Gibson, playing himself, and
What the heck?
because it's like to just really drive home that Lloyd is not good enough for this woman because she's married to Hollywood's hottest heartthrob, Mel Gibson. But it actually would have worked out because he could have come back for the sequel and he would have fit right in with being so sexist and racist.
Yeah, that's true. That's true.
Here's a Harry line as Gary Oldman. According to the map, we've only gone 4 inches. Would he be British?
I think that was better. That was better than your Nicolas Cage.
Was that supposed to be
Everyone.
Yeah, Leon the Professional.
No, what other? No, Dark Knight. I have to save Dad. According to the map, we've only gone 4 inches. He's got that real quick, like the E in inches would be real like sharp and real. It would fall inches.
Okay.
Hey man, you asked for it.
All right. Here's a story that I know you'll love, AJ.
Yeah.
So during filming, Jim Carrey stayed at the infamous Stanley Hotel. Now, you guys may or may not know this is the hotel that was the inspiration.
I love it. I have been there, and I love it.
Oh, this is the inspiration for The Shining. And in fact, Jim Carrey specifically requested to stay in the infamous room 217.
Ooh.
I thought that room didn't actually exist. Oh, no, it doesn't exist in the actual Shining, the place
the Overlook Hotel.
Yeah, the actual hotel has it.
Yeah. So after 3 hours on the room, Jim Carrey came running out of the room and left the hotel. That was the last anyone ever saw of James Carrey. No, it's not. But no one knows why, and he's refused to ever comment on it.
A very dumb Halloween. There's your movie title.
Apparently,
Yeah, there you
Dumber
go.
Halloween.
even though he's never said, apparently it said that he saw the ghost of his grandfather.
Wow.
But Jim Carrey. I mean, he's. I would believe him to be a superstitious guy. But yeah, he sprinted out of the hotel after because he was scared. And apparently, the tour guide tells the story when you go to the Stanley Hotel.
Wow. Jim Carrey.
Interesting. I didn't go on the tour. I was just in Estes Park, Colorado for like some random Scottish fair. And I saw it as we're driving by and I'm like, that's the Stanley Hotel. I'm like, we have to stop. And everybody with me is like, what's the Stanley Hotel? I'm like, I hate you all. If you don't know what it's from, I hate you and I'm not going to explain it to you.
Imagine if
I'm like,
we
just
did that
stop.
on the
Just stop so I
podcast.
can take a picture.
Imagine if we didn't explain things on the podcast, like explain movie points, because we're like, you should know. If you don't know, then don't listen.
If you don't know, you shouldn't be listening. If you don't know The Shining, then you don't know who I am.
Haven't been following along with The Land Before Time.
Yeah.
we don't want you to listen.
That, like when you're starting out podcast and you're still trying to get listeners, it's already hard having a one that like where we need to explain things in movies that we haven't seen. Imagine if we put like emphasis on our audience. It's like, if you don't listen to this, we're not gonna explain it. Like if you don't watch these movies, we're not gonna explain it. So we like push people to play along at home. I wonder if we would have done it. I wonder if probably not.
No.
We'd be dead in the ground by now.
Yeah.
I don't
Yeah,
know. Sometimes they like being beaten down. So if you alienate them enough, maybe they'll...
Interesting. Okay,
Yeah,
let's
well,
go
it's
for
not
that
for lack of
approach.
trying. AJ's been trying to alienate our audience for weeks.
I'll figure them out one day.
Did you guys ever watch what I would consider to be like the female version of Dumb and Dumber called The Sweetest Thing?
Oh, yes.
Cameron
I've
Diaz
seen
and-
bits of that movie. I don't think I've seen the full thing.
Yeah,
I love
I've
it.
seen that. Yeah.
It's like one of my favorites in ever. And they're not like as dumb IQ wise as like the Dumb and Dumber guys, but they do real stupid slapstick kind of stuff.
Right,
And they go
yeah.
across the country and whatever. So
Yeah, that's cool.
Yeah.
I might check that out. That sounds interesting. I've only seen bits of it.
It's
it's
very,
funnier than you would think it is.
Yeah, it's
maybe.
got some good music in it.
Does it?
Yeah.
Like, oh,
Some good liners.
The Sweetest Thing. Is that in it?
Probably. Apparently,
Yeah.
they sing a
it
song.
has
They sing
Thomas
like,
Jane in it,
hey,
like the original Punisher.
Oh my gosh.
Yeah.
I
You
love
love
the
the
original.
there's an interesting story that I'm going to throw to you to tell, AJ.
Okay.
About the big gulps.
Yes, Amanda, are you aware of the Big Gulp story from Dumb and Dumber?
No.
Okay, so there's a scene in Dumb and Dumber where Jim Carrey's character Lloyd Christmas walks
the
out
prequel?
of in the first one.
Okay.
He walks out of a 7-Eleven and he walks past these two like real intimidating thugs standing on the footpath, and they're each holding what I assume would be called a big gulp,
Yeah.
which is like a slushie. a big slushy. And Jim Carrey walked past them and looks at them and goes, "Big gulps, huh?" And the two thugs just stare at him, and he goes, "Well, see you later," and leaves. And the behind-the-scenes story of that is that those two actors weren't paid for lines. They were paid to just be there. And so Jim Carrey improvised that line. And it's funny because in real life, they would have been starstruck, right? Like, holy crap, Jim Carrey's acting with us. What do we do? We have to.
What do we do?
But we're not paid, we're not allowed to talk. Like, we're not paid to talk. But in the scene, it comes across the opposite. That these thugs are just like, "What the fuck are you talking? Like, why are you talking to us?" You know, move on. It's such it's really good.
It's actually one of the funniest bits of the film, I think. But yeah, there's a few interesting stories like that. Like, there's apparently, and being John Malkovich, there's a bit where a character, an extra, like, drives past John Malkovich and throws a beer can at his head. He goes, "Think fast, Malkovich!" And he was just like a drunk extra that should have been fired, but because it was so good, not only did they keep him in the film, but they had to upgrade him to a speaking extra and pay him more.
Wow.
Oh, wow.
But then
That's
I think
pretty cool.
John Malkovich did an AMA on Reddit and said that wasn't true or something, but that's like a famous little tidbit.
Okay.
Yeah, just making my way through all the facts I wrote down.
We were just talking about funniest moment in Dumb and Dumber.
Oh, yeah.
I would also like to posit that there are two really funny moments in Dumb and Dumber 2, the worst one. One is that when they start on their road trip to go find who they think is Harry's daughter, they're following an address on an envelope and wind up back at...
Like, they got like a 5-minute montage.
Yeah.
And then they open the door and they're like, "Wow, you look just like your mother." And she's like, "This is the return address."
And that to me was like... That's a real good, accurate Dumb and Dumber-ism.
Yeah.
You know? Like,
I was laughing for like 10 minutes. That's so
that
funny.
one was good. That was a good joke.
what was the other... Do you remember the other one that I can't remember
I
it
thought
now.
you would have.
No, I
I
was going to say as well the revelation that what's her name? What's the daughter's name? Poppy. Penny. That Penny is actually Lloyd's daughter, and not Harry's. While he's on like a date trying to court her, I was like, that's a good plot point. That's a well. Like, again, this is if I was told that Dumb and Dumber 2 has a scene where they go to a return address instead of the actual one, and that you find out that Lloyd's essentially trying to get with his biological daughter, I'd be like, that's great. That sounds like it's coming together nicely then.
I remember the other joke you liked.
Oh, okay.
Is, when it's right at the end of the film, there's these two attractive girls walking towards them. And,
he
goes,
yes.
And Jeff Daniels goes, "Check out the hotties at 12 o'clock." And Jim Carrey's like, "That's almost 3 hours away. Can I look at them now?"
Which, again, that's a very... It's like they wrote these lines down in 1994 and then finally were able to implement them in 2014.
Long after they'd lost their charm.
For sure.
There's we've talked about there's a lot of poop and scatological
especially in the
references.
prequel. It was all poop. Everywhere.
Bob Saget,
a poop heavy
Bob Saget, poor guy.
But there's a famous, probably one of the more famous scenes in the original is Jeff Daniels is going to get with the character that Lloyd is in love with, and then
Mary
Lloyd
Swanson, Samsonite.
Yeah, and so Lloyd, fills up his tea with Turbolax, a laxative, and so while he's on the date, he rushes to the toilet, has explosive diarrhea, Hershey squirts, and then she's like, "Oh, what are you doing in there? I hope you're not using the toilet because it doesn't flush." And then he hilariously has to get out of that situation. But and Jeff Daniels has said that that's his Oscar clip.
Ah, cool.
But he's he was at a golf course one day, and Clint Eastwood walks over to him, and Clint Eastwood's like, "Hey, I saw Dumb and Dumber." And then Jeff Daniels is like cringing and being like, "Oh my god, like he's gonna tear me to shreds." And then he's like, "That toilet thing happened to me on a date."
Oh, that would be amazing.
Yeah. It's I can vouch for it's not amazing when it happens.
Have you?
No, not when it happens, but the Clint Eastwood said that.
Yeah,
Have you been on a date, Richard, and had the shits?
I have.
Oh, cool. Tell us about that.
There's not much of a story to tell. I had an upset stomach, and I was very drunk. The first time I stayed over at my now girlfriend's house.
So, on a scale of Dumb and Dumber to Dumb and Dumberer, when Harry Met Lloyd, how explosive and cataclysmic was this experience?
I'd say it was probably closer to the original.
Okay.
Yeah. Not quite as cataclysmic as
Not as obscene as the prequel.
yeah.
Do you want to quickly tell our listeners, Amanda, the scene in the prequel that we're talking about in case they haven't seen it?
So, and what's funny is in that one, it's not actual poop. So Lloyd tells Harry to bring her chocolate, like the best chocolate he can find. And so he gets a Hershey's bar and he's got it in his back pocket. So he goes over to her house and he sits down on the radiator because he doesn't know it's a radiator, right? And then he's like, oh, I have to go to the bathroom so bad. So he runs to the bathroom and the chocolate is melted and he proceeds to, instead of cleaning it appropriately, just makes it I don't know how one chocolate bar had that much chocolate. There's no way that's even possible. But it was everywhere. And it looked like diarrhea was just all over the walls. It's on the mirror. It's like all over his clothes.
Yeah.
And then Bob Saget freaks out when he sees it. But it was just one chocolate bar somehow that filled a room full of poop. I don't understand.
Low-key, Bob Saget might be my favourite performance in the whole series.
Yeah, when he's just like, he's only got like 2 scenes and, and most of it's just,
he's
oh my
yelling
God,
about
there's
shit
on the
whole
walls.
time.
There's shit everywhere! There's shit on the walls! It's so funny. And I'm so glad it's Bob, because we forgot. We'd both seen Dumb and Dumber a long time ago.
Yeah.
And had forgot that it was Bob Saget.
Yeah.
Or didn't know at the time that it was Bob Saget in that scene.
Yeah. I remember we watched it in like intermediate school. It was like last day of school, and someone went to the video store and got out Mean Girls and Dumb and Dumberer, and we watched
A
it.
classic combination.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Defined my childhood.
Everyone's high school life was either like Mean Girls or Dumb and Dumber.
Did you have a Mean Girls or a Dumb and Dumber high school?
I probably had more of a Mean Girls high school, I think, but with boys.
Well, no,
mean boys.
Your personal experience. Which character in either of those films do you most associate with?
Like, who would I be in
Yeah.
either of those films? I'd be like, you know who what? I'd be Shia LaBeouf's character in Dumb and Dumberer, because I actually have worked as a mascot
true.
in big suits.
And you have giant nostrils.
Yeah, as Shia LaBeouf has. I have giant nostrils.
What about you, Amanda?
Well, obviously not Dumb and Dumber, but so in Mean Girls, our school wasn't really like that. I mean, we had a little bit of cliques, but not to that extreme. So, but if I was to pick, I would be probably one of the mean girls. I could be kind of mean sometimes when I wanted to be. It wasn't that often though.
So a Gretchen Wieners situation?
Just Wiener.
No, the better one.
Okay. Rachel McAdams.
The actual one, yeah.
What's her name?
Yeah, it's Rachel McAdams. That's right.
What's the character's name? Put your hand up if you've ever been personally victimized by
Regina George.
Regina George. You've done it.
Yes.
Oh, thank God.
All our Mean Girl fans listeners are just screaming Regina George into their iPhone.
I've seen that movie so many times, like hundreds of times, literally, Mean Girls, all the time.
Do you know there's a sequel to it?
Have you ever seen it?
There shouldn't be a sequel. I didn't watch it, no.
It's on our list. We'll get you back for it.
Yeah, we'll get you back for it.
Oh, no.
It's
I love the
horrendous.
first one. It's like my
Have you
soul,
seen-
so...
Oh, yeah. No,
Yeah.
the first one's great. The first one's a really... it's their characters are frustrating, but that's why it's funny.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Speaking of Lindsay Lohan, we actually watched Freaky Friday last night as well.
Oh, did you?
Supplementary
Man,
material.
that's a good movie.
Um,
You've seen it?
Yeah, I saw it. The one that you shouldn't watch with her in it is called I Know Who Killed Me. She has like a twin and like a peg leg.
Isn't that
Just
the Parent Trap?
No,
Yeah, you're thinking of the Parent Trap.
no, I'm telling you, don't watch it.
I know who
You
killed
really
my
don't.
parents.
That's
The trap.
That's interesting. That you say I shouldn't watch it.
But now you want to, kind of, because of the peg leg.
we've got a project we're not ready to announce coming out.
Yeah, and
that may involve
and there's a DVD of I Know Who Killed Me on its way to my house.
But more on that as the weeks tick by.
As it unfolds.
Yeah.
That's kind of all the trivia I had for the original. Mm-hmm. But who wants trivia? There's not much trivia on the prequel. You asked me to find out why it was made and stuff like that.
Which is a common question we have with these forlorn.
This one was like an actual theatrical release.
I didn't know that.
And it's like I can understand why people would be like, oh, I want to do it. You know, like it's 10 years later. They're never going to do a sequel. Let's do our one.
Yeah,
and
it's the best. If you were going to do a sequel to Dumb and Dumber without Jim Carrey and Jeff Daniels, this is the best way to do it, and they aced it. Not to keep going on about it, but those because I'm a massive stickler for young casting, right? Like it completely takes me out of a film if the people they cast as younger or older versions of characters don't look like them. Like The Notebook's real bad for that. Like the older version of Ryan Gosling and the older version of
they don't look anything like them. They don't look anything like them.
Yeah,
not even a little.
Yeah, I agree.
That's supposed to be a twist, though, isn't it?
No, not at all.
Although, to be fair, in defense of The Notebook, he's telling a story, so why wouldn't he make himself out to be Ryan Gosling?
Sure. Okay.
If I was, he's an unreliable narrator.
Okay. That's your headcanon for the Notebook.
Hey, that's we're gonna get so many comments of people being like, "Yeah, that's a real good point, Richard."
Okay. Well, I can't wait for them. Another favorite of mine would be Ewan McGregor as Obi-Wan. I think really nailed it. But yeah, the guys who play young Harry and young Lloyd. It's so good. And, I mean, we've already talked about it, but yeah, it just when that movie came out, I remember being surprised to learn that it wasn't Jim Carrey. When I was however old I was in 2003.
Yeah.
I remember thinking that's not Jim Carrey. It looks exactly like him.
Yeah, they were super accurate. Mm. They did a good job.
Yeah, well, the original directors, terrible segue, but it was Matt Stone and Trey Parker were paid $1.5 million to direct Dumb and Dumber.
Really?
And then they said no. They pulled out and returned the money.
That's hilarious. Oh. It does feel like a Matt Stone, Trey Parker film.
Yeah, it does. That would make sense.
Because it's not very good.
So for those listening who don't know, Matt Stone and Trey Parker created South Park, and they also did a movie called Basketball, and
Orgasmo.
I really liked Basketball last time I saw it when I was a teenager. So.
I surprisingly liked that, even though that's not really my thing. I liked it more than I thought I would.
Nice. There you go. What a glowing recommendation there. If you hated Dumb and Dumber, you'll love Basketball.
Yeah.
Okay.
Are you ready for me to tell you who's Lloyd and who's Harry?
Yes.
Yes. Tell us.
I've made my decision. Okay. So, AJ is Lloyd, and Rich, you're Harry.
Yeah.
I agree
too.
I would make Richard drive me across country for a girl who probably doesn't like me.
That's the thing, is that when when the film started, we were like, oh, which one is which? And then he's like, why do I need to come? And then he's like, because I need you to drive me. And I was like, yeah, no, that's AJ doesn't. Well, I've recently sold my car for a scooter, so I wouldn't have to drive AJ everywhere. But
no, I just don't leave the house.
He actually doesn't. It's actually a health problem. So he's become like Lloyd at the start of Dumb and Dumber 2. Just quickly, the couple of things about the casting for the second one. Jennifer Lawrence, I remember, was cast real early on for Dumb and Dumber 2, and then there's a photo of her on set, and then she was there's supposed to be a flashback of her as young Frida, but then she pulled out. She filmed it and then asked to have it removed.
Wow.
Presumably because she saw the rest of the film.
Probably that female doctor's joke.
Yeah.
Seriously, that's probably...
Well, it's because young Frida in the film ends up just being a backside with a smiley tattoo.
Yeah, they don't show... Well, and what's weird, too, is in Dumb and Dumberer, the twin sisters are blonde, but then in the Dumb and Dumber 2, they're brunette.
And So Kathleen Turner plays Frida. And she's amazing. I love her so much in this film. She's I only really
She
knew
sounds like she smokes like 20 packs a day though. Like her voice is gruff.
It's so like it suits
real
what
gruff.
they did with the character so well.
Yeah.
Like she talks like oh you boys.
I remember when they first invented chocolate.
Oh my gosh.
Like she the where I knew her from is she played Chandler's dad on Friends. Because he was a cross-dresser.
Okay.
Oh, right.
And then it was actually played by a female. But she's great in this film. And yeah, like she just suits that sort of rough character that she's become, and the voice is amazing.
Yeah.
But and also Laurie Holden, who plays the adoptive mother, and she was on The Walking Dead. Apparently, she was cast because of how much the Farrelly brothers hated her on Walking Dead. She's awful on The Walking Dead.
The fact that the Farrelly brothers watch Walking Dead is interesting.
It's very telling. And also the blind kid, the kid in the wheelchair, is like one of a handful of people that returned from the original. They couldn't get a hold of him, so they just found him on Facebook and said, "Do you want to be in the sequel?" Imagine just getting like a Facebook message from the Farrelly brothers one day, and be like, "Hey, when you were 8, you were in this film.
Yeah.
Do you want to do it again?"
Do you think they make a group chat and it's called like the Farrelly brothers, and then they invite him to it?
Yeah,
Yeah.
I'd say that's almost definitely.
I'm glad that Jennifer Lawrence wasn't in it because I would have hated it more.
Yeah.
That woman is all face. I can't get past it's all face. Like she has eyes and then her whole head is just face. It's just cheeks. I can't do it.
I don't know what you mean,
awful.
but I like that you described it.
I'm not surprised she pulled out.
Yeah, like
There's a lot of weird stuff in this film. There's another really, really weird scene in this film when Harry's imagining his life with a daughter.
Yeah.
And it actually goes on to be even weirder later on. But he's like picturing all these like parts of his life.
Like rites of passage.
Like rites of passage. So it's like, her taking her training wheels off and she does a backflip.
Yeah.
And then there's like another one. And then the third one is like she walks in, she's wearing white pants and she's got blood on her crotch. And then he's drinking red wine. And what I thought he was going to do is just pour the red wine on her pants so it made her pants red. And so you wouldn't be able to see the blood. But then he pulls out the cork and gives it to her. Now, I don't know an awful lot about menstruation, but that's not that wouldn't be very hygienic. And B,
I'm fairly sure it wouldn't work either.
What disturbed me most about that is that two 60-year-old men directed a 11-year-old girl to wear blood-stained white pants. It's creepy that the whole scene
bad.
is creepy.
yeah.
Really creepy. Really bad.
And then later on, Lloyd's having a fantasy about his life with Penny. And you see Harry in his fantasy is married to Honey Boo Boo's mother.
Yeah.
Which is like was an outdated reference at the time, and it's now 3 years later. But this film, that cameo was filmed, and between that cameo being filmed and the film being released, Honey Boo Boo's mother started dating like a sex offender, and was like the show was cancelled.
Oh god.
And so it comes in and Lloyd like adjusts her breasts.
Yeah.
And yeah, the whole thing is
If you're wondering what the
awful.
hell we're talking, it's supposed to be funny, I guess.
Yeah.
It's not though. It's not at all.
The real tragedy of Dumb and Dumber 2 is, and it's something
that
you
it got
see.
made.
It's something you see a lot in these sequels that are made so long after the original. Is that they pick it up a bit towards the end, but when it starts and you're watching like mid-50s Jim Carrey and mid-50s Jeff Daniels like trying to recapture these characters they played in like the prime of their acting career, it's like they're so bad at it. Like they don't. It's cringy. It's embarrassing to watch them try and do it.
It was
again.
hard.
Yeah,
It was
I
hard.
can't think of a single time when someone's actually accurately picked up a character after that long. Like people, you talk about like Han Solo and Deckard.
I was going to say Han Solo.
But then like Han Solo's probably the best one. Deckard was in 2049 was a better performance, but it wasn't Deckard.
It was
just Harrison Ford acting for the first time in years. But like Han Solo had elements of like, this is where Han Solo would be now after everything he's been through. He's still fun and quippy, but he's been through a lot, and the years have weathered him. But aside from that, there's not really many that actually work.
It's a very cringy performance. As I said, I did think they were able to slip more into their old roles towards the end, but overall, it was like, no, this isn't working. It's so weird.
Yeah, it's the sequel adds a few people. Rob Riggle's in it as like the supporting character, which is like a weird choice because it's like, who cares about Rob Riggle? I mean, I like he pops up in a lot of things. Like if you Google Rob, if you don't know who I'm talking about, Rob Riggle, if you Google him, you probably recognize his face from something. He's been in like he was the big bad in 21 Jump Street, and he's Schmidt's brother in New Girl. Those are just the two things I happen to remember him from. But he's he's quite funny. He's a funny actor. I've liked him and stuff. But then he's like, early on, he's like, my twin brother, and just like, you're like, oh, cool, because like, so he's gonna die now.
Yeah. Just so they can have a twin brother in it, but it's just because they wanted to kill off the character like twice, essentially.
Yeah,
it's stupid. Ugh.
Yeah, waste of Rob Riggle.
Can we talk about titles?
Yeah,
just because we do that a lot
on this podcast.
Yeah. So for those who are tuning in for the first time, welcome. We talk about titles a lot on this podcast, and the reason for that is that I kind of have a obsessive compulsive obsession with titles, and a lot of titles piss me off. A lot of sequel titles piss me off if they like change it up too much. And you would think then that Dumb and Dumber, Dumb and Dumberer, and Dumb and Dumber 2 would piss me off, but I kind of love it because it emphasizes, they're all dumb. So even though obviously the second one is called 2 because it's trying to ignore the prequel, but even if it isn't, it's still kind of funny.
Right.
And 2 spelled wrong, and dumberer
in
isn't
any
a
respect,
word.
2 is spelled wrong. I mean, they could have done TOO or TWO, but they picked the one that wouldn't work.
Yeah,
which is kind of funny. It's funny that they went out there, because if it was TOO,
it would
like,
still
that
make
makes sense.
Oh yeah, they're Dumb and Dumber 2. Yeah,
but yeah, what do you think of their titles, Amanda?
I was fine with them, actually. They didn't bother me. I'm not super picky about titles like AJ is, though.
No one is.
Yeah.
It's just me.
Yeah. I would think that, especially like Dumb and Dumberer.
It's just funny. It's just stupid.
And then also there's the at the end of did you say for the post-credit scene in Dumb and Dumber 2?
No, there was one?
Yeah, so they're driving on their Zamboni and they have milkshakes, and hilariously Lloyd's like, those knuckleheads, I asked them for a chocolate shake and they gave me vanilla. And Harry's like, oh, you think you've got it bad? I asked for a vanilla shake and they gave me chocolate. Like, oh well. And throw the milkshakes behind them, and they hit the windscreen of this truck, and then you see behind the wheel is a guy whose hat says wine me, dine me, 69 me, and his friend, and he's like, go get him, Seabass, and the camera like zooms into Seabass's face, and we haven't explained who Seabass was.
Seabass is a character from the first one.
Yeah, so he's like, they piss him off and he follows them for a little while. But and then it cuts to a title saying Dumb and Dumber 4 FOR coming 2034.
Oh God, no.
Which I like, because even it's either dumb because it is the fourth one and they didn't acknowledge the second one the first time round, or they're still pretending the prequel doesn't exist
and they've skipped 3
and it's spelled wrong.
Yeah.
It's great. It's hilarious. Yeah. It's the best part of the movie.
Do you reckon they did that because they couldn't think of a funny thing for 3?
Yeah.
Like Dumb and Dumber 3, I guess they could do.
Yeah. So, speaking of Dumb and Dumber 4.
Ooh, I know where you're going.
Ooh. Take it away.
Is this to continue the franchise?
It absolutely is.
It is.
Yay!
This is a segment where we all pitch our continuations of the Dumb and Dumber franchise, because, Jim Carrey's, Jeff Daniels, they've still got some years left in them. The Farrelly brothers, But you
don't have to go with Jim Carrey or Jeff Daniels.
No, you don't. Yep.
You could see what Eric Christian Olsen and Derek Richardson are up to these days.
Well, that would lead nicely into my continue the franchise.
Well, then, Amanda, would you like to start?
No, please. You'll want to save mine for last.
Okay. My continue the franchise is called Dumb and Dumberer 2. And it's...
How's 2 spelled?
T-O.
right.
And it just egregiously ignores Dumb and Dumber 2 while keeping the stars of Dumb and Dumberer. Maybe it's a recreation of the original just because that's dumb. I don't know. But, like, I don't know. I like those guys' performance and I'd like to see them
When
again.
will it come out?
I don't know. When
2024?
Yeah, sure. Dumb and Dumberer 2. Just to really, like, dismantle a franchise from the inside out kind of intrigues me. So
Right,
that's my continue the franchise.
All right.
Do to Dumb and Dumber 2 what Dumb and Dumber 2 did to Dumb and Dumberer.
Oh, God. All right. Yeah, no, that's a good one. Well, mine, Amanda kind of ruined, but because I was going to suggest a female reboot. But the sweetest thing is kind of already there. But you could follow the daughter from this one because she's so dumb.
Penny.
So dumb.
Her and her dumber friend as they travel across the country for some guy who's way out of their league.
She's pretty attractive though.
Oh, I mean,
Yeah.
like I was going more off her personality. I don't
Oh,
really
of
look
course.
at,
No, I don't think that way. What would you call it? Is there a non-sexist word for dumb that usually refers to women? I can't think of it. Just saying that sentence alone answers no.
yeah,
Yeah.
dumb girl and dumber girl.
Blonde and blonder.
Oh yeah, you could do
Yeah,
that.
you could do
Legally
that.
blonde.
You could do that.
All right.
All right, what have you got?
All right. So, because I think the franchise shouldn't have been made, except the prequel was okay, I want them to die. So, mine would be, I'm not sure on the title, like maybe a Dumb and Dumber death or the dumbest death or something, but it's like a story of them. So it would be, appropriately like 10 or 20 years later or whatever when they're getting old. And it's just a series of the stupid Darwinism events that lead to their death finally.
I like that.
Like, I don't know how they've survived this long anyway, but what finally dumb act they do that kills them both.
I love that.
And then we can
That's
all
great.
rest easy.
That's actually a really good idea.
Yeah, it would be great to do. I could see them doing that as like a short film for like we're never doing another one.
You could call it Dumb and Dumber Goes to Hell.
Yeah.
And it's just grammatically incorrect. The title's grammatically incorrect.
They or, like I'd love if after everything they've survived, they somehow have like a real smart death. Like it's a real noble sacrificing themselves when they should have, died when
A
they got
million
hit,
times.
like when they got hit by all these cars. And,
I do like the idea though of like a Rube Goldberg machine-esque kind of, but one that takes a whole movie to set up that eventually kills them.
yeah,
You know,
like a massive comedy
Final
group.
Destination styles.
like butterfly
Like-
effect.
yeah.
Like a mouse. Remember the mousetrap game when we were
Yeah,
kids?
exactly.
yeah.
It's like that. Yeah.
Yeah,
That's a good idea,
that's
Amanda.
amazing.
That might be one of my favourite continue the franchises that we've had. It's just a good idea. It makes sense that the end of their epic story, which has spanned their whole lives, would end at their death.
I reckon just Dumb and Dumber die.
Yeah.
Dumb and Dumber goes to dead.
Or a Dumb at a
death.
funeral.
the Dumb and Dumber funeral. That's
Four dummies in a funeral.
Something. Title to be determined later.
Yeah.
They just call it Dumb and Dumber 2, but it's the number 2.
and then Dumb and Dumber TOO.
Or what if it's Dumb and Dumber, but the U's are replaced with a 2? Because it just looks stupid.
What were the ones we were saying the other day of like the like when we were trying to come up with continue the franchises and we're just saying words that rhyme with dumb.
Oh, Bum and Bummer, and it's about a homeless man and a guy who's just real negative.
Oh my god.
Yeah, that's a good one.
Cool.
All right, so before wrapping up franchise with it, or maybe we should we'll do it afterwards because that's always a good finale. We've got a little bit of admin to take care of. We're coming to the end of October, and that means next month is a new month, and you just had to bear with us for a moment, Amanda, as we
Admin Corner.
Admin Corner. Welcome to it. Oh, do you want to get any fan mail we might have as well?
Nah, there's not enough to warrant doing it.
Never mind. Sorry, I said anything. But We're coming into November, and I don't know what it is internationally, but in New Zealand there's a thing called Movember.
It's No Shave November.
Yeah, you might have No Shave November over in the States. We're having Movember here is actually like a charity drive, and so it's for it's for prostate cancer. It's against prostate cancer, and you like shave fully before the start of the month, and then just grow a moustache throughout the month. And a lot of people just do it just for fun. AJ and I have decided to try and do it for a good cause and actually try and raise some money. So in the coming. Well, actually, this is coming out like next. So basically, next time you see us, if you commonly see us, we'll be clean shaven. I've had I don't know if you guys know what we look like, but AJ's changed his facial hair quite a lot. But I've had a solid beard for 3 years. It's been over 3 years since I was last clean shaven. So I'm going to be shaving. Then we're both going to be growing moustaches. And if you want to donate, we don't see any of the funds, so don't feel weird about that, but you can donate at moteam moteam.co/cult-popture. We'll put a link on our social media and stuff like that. And also to celebrate Movember, we're going to be doing an Instagram thing of 30 days of 30 mows and posting pictures of the greatest moustaches of pop culture every day of Movember.
There you go.
Sweet.
So yeah, feel free to donate, anyone. And also, I was gonna... there was one more thing I felt I had to say. What were you going to say?
I was going to let Amanda plug CoGPod.
Yeah. Well, I didn't want that to feel... I didn't want to feel like that was admin.
Of course, no. I thought we'd finished admin.
Yeah.
Admin corner.
All right.
And now we're into plug corner. The plug pub.
All right. Well, yeah, of course we do.
The plug hole.
The plug hole.
Oh, God.
All right, Amanda, you're trying to dive into the plug hole. Amanda, of course, joining us from CoGPod.
The CoGPod
Yes.
or
The CoGPod?
CoGPod? Is there a the? There's a the.
It's the CoGPod. Yes.
All right. And for those of you who don't know, I mean, I'm sure some listeners don't know who we are and they know who you are. But do you want to, for our fans, do you want to explain CoGPod? How does that work?
So basically, COG stands for Collaboration of Gamers, because we started as a gaming group online and then we started a podcast after that. So it was originally supposed to be focused on gaming, but that kind of never really happened. Like if you listen from the beginning, we just kind of talk about random stuff and review movies sometimes or books or whatever. And we don't really have a set topic. So I think on iTunes, we're just listed as comedy. Because it's just four people just talking.
With TV.
That's it.
No, we're TV and film on SoundCloud. I take comedy every time.
Oh.
But that's because I don't want to get in trouble if people think we're trying to be smart. It's just comedy. Anyway.
That's the easiest one. But if you want to check us out, it's cogpod.net. All of our links are there. You can find us all there. Everything's one hub. Easy peasy.
And we'll be posting links.
Yeah.
Make sure people check it out as well. But yeah, no, it's a fun podcast to listen to. AJ described it as one of the rare podcasts you could listen to with friends.
It feels like, because usually when I listen to podcasts, I listen to them on the bus, and it'd be weird to sit in a lounge listening to one. But I don't know, CoGPod to me was I put this on in a room with 2 or 3 friends, and
it's
because it's almost like you're just
Yeah,
chatting. It's
exactly.
like you're just chatting with your friends, because there's not really a set topic, so you don't have to be in any kind of mindset.
yeah.
Whereas ours, you can't understand unless you've seen the films. unless you're committing like a real fan and following along with us at home.
Yeah.
Then, as I said, we don't want you.
On that note, Amanda, can you give us a number, please, from...
I'll give you the exact. Where are we?
Give me a range.
All right, between 1 and 277.
Good Lord. 117.
117 is Disney's 101 Dalmatians. 2 animated, 2 live.
Yay!
That would have been better than Dumb and Dumber. For me.
I don't know.
For me.
Wait, they both
For
have
me.
Jeff Daniels.
Does it? Is he in it?
Jeff Daniels is in the live action. It's either him or David Coulier. It might be David Coulier. We'll find out next week. Thank you very much for coming on the show, Amanda.
Of course.
This is very, very good. And if you listeners, if you're coming here from the CoGPod, listening to us for the first time, and you're like, these guys are great. I think their accents are real cute and like kind of interesting. Then you can find us on Facebook, iTunes, SoundCloud, YouTube, Instagram, Twitter, all under Cult Popture, CULTPOPTURE. And you can also email us at cultpopturemedia@gmail.com. Tell us what you think. Tell us what franchises you want us to do, even though we can't do them because we have a very strict rule around that.
Yeah, so it's all randomly chosen. So please stop sending us. do this next. Okay, we love the interaction, but there's different ways you can interact with us that we can actually do what you want.
Yeah.
Yeah, and also check out our MoSpace page where we're going to be trying to raise some money for charity.
There you go. A Cult Popture first.
Yeah, Cult Popture first. Actually trying to put some good into the world.
Cool. Okay, well, I guess that's it. Is that it?
Yeah, unless you had any twist endings you want to...
No.
It's not your baby.
No. It was never my child.
Wow. It's not my child either.
We need this to end with like a busload of bikini-clad women inviting us to be on their podcast.
Oh yeah, that's
being
it.
Like, we know someone who does a podcast. Her name's Amanda. Go on, get her on your podcast. There you go. There's my way to tie it.
Didn't understand the reference. That's how the film ends. There's a bunch of bikini models pull up in a bus and go, "We need new oil men," and they go, "Oh, there's a town up there."
Yeah.
And they're like, "Wait, what are we doing?" There's a town over there. And put them in the other direction. But apparently Jim Carrey refused to shoot an ending. The alternate ending was they were going to get on the bus and like finally have a win, and Jim Carrey refused to shoot it.
Just
like funny.
Just like I refuse to do an alternate ending to this podcast.
And we're just going to end like this.